Hey everybody, hope you guys are all doing okay. Welcome back to our 100% run here in Might and Magic VIII. And in this episode, we're going to be flying around, teleporting around, just zooming around the continent, looking at a few of the little secrets that we didn't get to see in the course of the playthrough. Most of them aren't going to be that useful, but nonetheless they're interesting. Some of them genuinely are useful. Some of them we've already seen, but we'll cover those again. Why not? Let's start actually from the very beginning of the game. Let's go to the Dagger Wound Island region. Now, I'm actually going to be posting a link in the description to the guide that I'm using to find these secrets, because I did not find, well, to be perfectly honest, I didn't find any of them myself. These are just things that were vaguely known to the community at the time when I was playing. Some of them are really obscure, and some of them are definitely new to me. But yes, I'll be posting a link to the guide, and so that if you would like to follow, you know, if you would like to find them yourself and you need some written instructions to follow, then the guide would certainly be helpful to you. So the first one, and this is going to be a bit of a trend for a lot of these secrets, is that when you hover your mouse over the item, it'll display the item's name. In this case, it's a palm tree. The reason that's notable is for most other palm trees or items of any kind, the game will not do that, but for certain ones it will, and that often is the indication that there's something special going on with the item. I've already lost it. Well, no. Found it again with this palm tree. So that's how we know there's something special about it. The other thing about it is that, and this is a weird, I'm not sure why it's this way, but nonetheless it is that these things will only work if you use them with a character who has a high enough repair item skill. Now, most of our party members don't have this skill, but we do have one party member who is a grandmaster in repair, so her skill will be high enough. So what happens when we click on this tree with a character with a high enough repair skill? It's hard to see, but it spawned this reagent on the ground. And I think it only works once. So just to confirm that that's what happened, let's load our game. Let's go back to the Dagger Wound Island region, and we'll demonstrate this thing. Well, let me drink these barrels again, and in fact, it would be more sensible to save next to the tree, just so in case I do need to load, it's easier. Click on it, someone with no repair, nothing happens. Click on it, someone with repair. And I think this should give us a good view. It spawns a reagent. It spawns it on the ground, so you do have to pick it up yourself, and it only works once. So that's the first one in this region. There is a second one as well. This one is on this island, I think. The one with a bunch of chests in this configuration. And if you walk towards the town, again, there are various patches of flowers, but only one where if you hover over it, the game says flower. Let me just quickly snag this barrel as well. And with this one, again, let me just save my game. clicking on, like trying to interact with it with someone without repair doesn't do anything, but if you do it with someone with repair, it gives you a ring. Once again, it spawns that ring on the ground. In this case, it's a pearl ring of alchemy. And the guide says that the enchantment can vary from +2 to +5, and the type of ring can also vary. So if you wanted to, you could save scum a little bit until you see this ring is much better. So until you got something nice, but as secrets go, have I already saved my game? No, here we go. But as secrets go, it's not the most earth-shattering, and the other issue is that because it spawns the item on the ground, sometimes it can be a bit tricky just picking it up, and yeah, it only works once. So those are all the ones that this particular guide mentioned for the Dagger Wound Island region. Next, let's kind of go in order. Let's go to Ravenshore. This is a region that has a few different things in it. The first one is this tree to the east of the big red, pink, whatever that color is, the crystal in the middle of town. If you go east, this is a little... This is one of several secrets in the game where what it's doing is a little convoluted. What it does is, if you interact with it with a potion of any kind in your inventory, what it'll do is it'll select one of those potions and empty it out and give you the potion bottle back. And I guess in a way it's useful, for example, if you're doing alchemy and you've ended up with a bunch of potions that you don't need, and you have the reagents to make other potions with, but you don't have the bottles. And, you know, the alchemy shop is all out of bottles, for example, so you can use this. So it's I can see how it could be useful. However, we are going to hold on to my potion of rejuvenation because I'd rather not empty that. There's, as I mentioned, a couple other secrets like that on this map. One of them, I'm actually going to cast invisibility because I think enemies are going to be here. And one of them is, I had it, didn't I? There's going to be a tree. Ooh, where is it? Is it this one? It's this one, I think. So this one, it's kind of in the same area as the artifact tree, but this is not the artifact tree. This is in fact I believe it spawned this poppy pod. Let's confirm that. Maybe go behind it. This time it spawned a potion bottle. I want to try and get a shot of it actually spawning the item. There we go. Confirmation that this tree will, I believe, a one-time use, spawn a low-level reagent or occasionally an empty potion bottle. And while we're here, let's go say hi to our other tree. This one, that is actually a chest with actual high-level items inside, and if you still have artifacts left to find, the game will spawn one of them inside this tree. This is one of the ones that we did indeed find early on because, you know, we were hunting down artifacts. It was crucial, in fact, to find that tree, because if we didn't, the artifact would just be lost forever and we'd never find it again. So we're done now with Ravenshore. What should we do next? How about Alvar? That's kind of a logical progression in a way. Actually, no. Before we do Alvar, actually, no. Let's do Alvar. Let's do Alvar. There are a few things to find on this map. One of them is very tricky, but it's actually a kind of useful secret. So to find it, okay, all kinds of ogres are coming in our direction. So what I want to do is I want to first cast Wizard Eye. Then I want to cast Invisibility. Okay. First of all, to find this tree, the easiest landmark is this ogre camp with this cauldron, and then go west from their camp. And then if you do that, one of the trees you find, these are all pine trees, but only one, when you hover your cursor over it, will say pine tree. And what happens when you click on it is, you kind of saw it happen, and this will actually do it endlessly, unlike the others which only do it once. It will spawn a bunch of white potions, specifically stat boost potions. Ooh, I'm trying to pick... Ooh, this... Oh, oh, that was kind of hilarious, the bouncing potion bottle. So, here's the kind of fun/funny thing about these speed boosts, is that the way boost potions work is that they add 3 times the strength of the potion for 30 minutes. But none of these have any strength. Like, they don't have any strength mentioned. This one, for example, like, it's... the power is irrelevant for this one, but because it has strength, due to how it was brewed, you know, that's a stat that it has. These ones don't have the power stat at all, so we don't have Day of the Gods right now, so this is going to be a great way to showcase this. If we drink this intellect boost, we'll see that it hasn't actually boosted our intellect at all. Or, to be more precise, it has boosted it by 3 times the potion's strength, the strength being 0, so a bit of a math lesson from the game, in a way. The next thing we want to look at is something that might actually not work, or at least I couldn't get it to work while testing. There's supposed to be a tree near the obelisk, which gives you... Let me see what the guide is telling us that it's supposed to do. So... it's supposed to give you a one-time treasure of a low-level ring. It's to the west of the obelisk. I'm gonna save my game around here. Again, it's tricky to even find, just because all of these trees look alike, but one of them... Okay, we found it. Where did it go? There it is. I don't want to get close to these wasps. I'd rather not have to engage in combat. Have I? Oh god, but I've turned myself around and I've lost the tree. Where was it? What? There it is. God damn it. Come on. Okay. Let's just get rid of some of these wasps.
That one was weak.
Now we should be able to cast invisibility again and go to the tree relatively... Oh, where was it? There. There it is. Okay. Now, it's supposed to spawn... Well, I'm not clicking on it with the correct character, but it's supposed to spawn a low-level item, but it isn't. However, by interacting with it... Hang on, let me check every character's inventory just to make sure. Yeah, okay, so I don't see any rings here that... You know, this one we found from the one in Dagger Wound, so we haven't actually gotten anything. However, the map has marked it with a dot. Similar to the way... Oh, God, I keep forgetting you can't do that. Similar to the way if you go to Ravenshore... Well, I believe you have to interact with them via spacebar to get these special trees to show up as dots. So let's go back to my old friend, the artifact tree, just to show you what I mean. Again, this is a bit convoluted, but I think it'll... Okay, so now that we've interacted with it via spacebar, it's showed up as a dot. And let's even see if we can find the other tree that was northwest of the village. This one. Oh yeah, with the reagent next to it. We interacted with it via spacebar and it turned into a dot. So that's what these special items do. Well, that's one way that you can keep track of where they are, is that if you interact with them via spacebar, the map will mark them as dots, although when the map resets, the dots will disappear. So, in a way, it's not that useful, because knowing where it is only helpful for when the map resets, especially for the artifact tree. But anyway, so all of this was to say that if you go back to Alvar, look at our map, there is a white dot when we tried to interact with that tree, which is evidence that it's supposed to be something notable, but I can't get it to do anything. Okay, now there's another secret in Alvar, another couple secrets. One which we've already seen, but I'll show it again, you know, the Ogre Fort one. But this one is a bit of an exception to what we've been looking at so far. So, for the most part, it's items that give you some sort of name when you hover over them. This one, at least in my version of the game, doesn't actually give you any indication that it's special at all. However, if you click on it, it is a chest, and I believe it is a trapped chest, and it'll have some items in it, but no artifacts, so you don't need to worry about losing an artifact spawn to this thing. But I guess it would be... I was gonna say, I guess you could save scum to get good stuff, but in order to do that, you'd have to load your save from before you entered the map. So that's not worthwhile, but it could give you a bit of a gold boost early on in the game. The last secret in Alvar... Oh, by the way, I didn't call attention to this, but even though these potions that we got from the tree in this part of the map, even though these potions are... Actually, you know what? Let me check something. If we interact with this via spacebar, it does put it on the map. I'm actually going to interact with the potion tree just to get the dot on the map, just so that we get a confirmation of exactly where on the map it is. Oh. It was you. Yep. Did you spawn another bottle? No, you didn't because we didn't interact with you with the right person. Yes. So this is the tree that spawns bottles. This is the rock that's a treasure. This is the tree that potentially is supposed to give you some low level thing, but which isn't working for me. So that is what we're dealing with there. And for completeness' sake, I'm even gonna go to the Dagger Wound Islands and mark this stuff on the map, just so we all know exactly where it is. Palm tree. I guess I need to interact it with you. This one doesn't seem to be wanting to get marked on the map. What? Oh, no, got it. Got the dot. Just the hitboxes are a bit finicky on when you're actually interacting with the item or when the game thinks you're trying to interact with some empty space. This one is already marked. So here are our 2 dots for the Daggerwood Island region. And let's go to Raven Shore. And just mark the dot for this tree. It gives us another one. I guess it isn't a one-time use. But, I mean... Oh no, this is the one that empties out one of our potions. Right, 'cause you can do it constantly and it'll... Oh, we just lost our rejuve potion. That's okay, though. If we really need it, we can make another one. But anyway, those are our 3 dots for Ravenshore. And I just realized I'm missing one in Alvar. The back of the Ogre Fort. The artifact-bearing secret. We cast invisibility. You're running low on mana, but we can just go to a temple to fix that. And we're just gonna check to see whether this gets marked on the map. So, the first time we found it, we did a crazy running jump off this cliff. An easier way to find it is via the flight spell. Let's use a spacebar. Will that mark it on the map? I think it hasn't. Okay. It has not marked it. But we know where it is. I guess because it isn't an object per se. It's just a patch of wall. That might be why it's not getting highlighted on the map. Nonetheless, there it is. So we've taken care of Alvar, we've taken care of Daggerwood Island, we've taken care of Ravenshore, at least for the secrets in this guide. There are a few other regions to go to. First thing I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to go to... let's do Ravage roaming first. But before that, let's get our mana back. Let's go to Ravenshore, go to the temple. And just get a quick heal before we go on. And yep, everything we interacted with is still marked on the map.
Our sanctuary is a benediction.
Okay, now let's go to Ravage roaming. And there are a couple things to find here. And before we go, let me just make sure I know what we're looking for. So... Okay. Got it. Let's go. Let's go. What? Immediately I want to... Well, I can't cast invisibility because enemies are already nearby. So for this one, we need to find the Church of Eep. This is one of the locations for the cheese quest. You know, the quest where we had to find 3 different kinds of cheese. This is going to be our landmark. From here we go to the northeast, to like across the water, and we'll find a rock. And if we interact with it, let me do it via spacebar. It's got a bunch of gold and a ring. At least that's what we have in this instance. It probably can give you a variety of different kinds of loot, and it does get marked on the map. There's one other secret in this area, a secret that we've already seen, but which we may as well revisit. It's getting a bit dark, but we're going to the northwest to the Ogre Raiding Fort area. This is going to be the crate. And one of these crates, when you interact with them, it'll turn out to actually be a chest that you can open. This one doesn't get marked. So probably what's happening is the game considers it to be just a regular chest, and regular chests aren't thought of as secrets by the game's standards. And I guess since it's a crate and not, you know, a random object like a tree or a rock, it makes sense that the game thinks that it's a chest. But the reason it's a secret in the practical sense is because it's just one crate out of a pile of identical looking crates, and only one of them is interactable to actually give you an item. So even if the game doesn't think it's a secret, because it's hard to spot, like you might click on a few of these crates and they don't do anything, and you conclude that none of them will, but one of them actually will give you something. So in that sense, yes, it is. It is a kind of a secret. For the next few secrets, we're going to have to do transitions to other areas. We're gonna have to go to both. Actually, let's start with the Gargoyle Gorge, because there's only one thing to find there, and we can just get it out of the way early. Just fly straight west from the Ravenshaw region, one of several ways to get to Gargoyle Gorge. And there's one thing to find there, at least based on this guide that I'm following. Alright. Again, just because we don't want... You know what? I'm actually going to rest until the morning. Just because it is a bit dark. Once again, we'll cast Flight and Invisibility just to make sure that our former Dragon Hunter friends aren't going to be bothering us too much. To find this one, we need to go to Aaron's residence, the Aaron residence, and go kind of northeast from there. And this object here, which the game marks as flowers, if you interact with it, it's actually a chest. And in this case, it just gives us a small amount of gold.
Leave it.
Some ring, a mace.
Leave it.
But it could give you other different stuff. Not an artifact, though, which is of vital importance, because if it was an artifact, and see, it also gets marked on the map. If it was an artifact-bearing secret, then we would have had to access it during our regular playthrough. But yes, that's something that you can go to for a bit of extra loot. And now we've got to... Oh god, why do I keep doing this? I should have probably had a veteraness in my party for this. We're almost done, so it doesn't really matter. Next, let's go to... Let's do Iron Sand first, because there are a couple things to find there. I think two things, one of which we've already seen, and one which is going to be new. Okay, let's go. Let's go. Alright, and immediately first we cast Flight. Get away from these guys, cast Invisibility. We'll cast Wizard Eye and then Invisibility just to make things a bit more convenient. To find this secret, well, first of all, let me just grab a couple barrels, just because I can. To find this secret, we go to the Thistlebone residence and kind of go north. What sort of direction are we going in? Like a southeast kind of direction. We're looking for a cactus. A cactus which, when you interact with it, once again spawns an item. And this is one of those one-time use situations, so it'll give you a reagent when you do it the first time, and it's also marked it with the dot on the map. The other secret that is known for this area is the rock by the Lake of Fire, which is one of the artifact-bearing secret containers. So it's going to be this one. Let's spacebar it.
Leave it.
Endurance, armor, hit points. That's pretty good. And I would say that's better than this. And you know what, you can have that. Anyway, and this one also should have gotten marked on the map, yes. These are our two secrets for the Iron Sand region. This one, which will give you something like a trivial thing, a single reagent. And this one, which is actually important, because if you still have artifacts remaining to be found in your random artifact pool, that will contain one of them. So you will need to find... If you ever enter this region, you'll need to interact with this, or otherwise you will lose whatever artifact spawned inside there. Alright, next we've got to go to Ragnar. And here there's only one that was marked by the game. It was so between Burn, Kindle's Spoils, and Gifts of Ragnar. Another couple barrels. Don't mind if I do. So between these two locations, there's going to be a tree, which... Let me just save my game. Which, when you interact with it, gives you a telekinesis scroll, and that's all it does. Telekinesis is a useful thing, so that's a good one to have. And while we are in Ragnar, there's something. This isn't a secret. This is just like an extra little thing that I didn't. That it just didn't occur to me during the regular playthrough. Where were we? Just okay, yeah. Gifts of Ragnar. Oop. Accidentally muted. So, Gifts of Ragnar
I have some special pieces for you.
is actually a high-level magic shop which means
I have some special pieces for you.
that it's capable of
Not.
spawning diamonds in its
I have
inventory.
some special pieces
Yep,
for you.
there we go. And if I should have realized that because it's a shop in an endgame area, of course it's going to be high level. But if I'd realized that, I would have used this one as well
Have a good.
when I was farming up diamonds. Hang on. Oh no.
I have some special pieces for you.
What does this person say when you...
Have a good one.
When you do business? Okay. Have a good one, is what he says when you buy something. And if you go in and then you don't buy anything and you leave, they'll say something insulting. I just wanted to get that little bit of dialogue from him. But anyway, not a secret, but just something to keep in mind, that this shop is also capable of giving you diamonds. And that's the only secret for Ragnar, I think, that this game has. Now the last secrets that we need are all to do with one location in Murmur Woods, but before we go there, we actually need to go to Shadowspire. Now there aren't any secrets on this map, according to the guide, and don't think anybody else has managed to find any either. If you do know of anything to do with this map, please do mention it in a comment. But the reason I've come here is to go to the magic shop, specifically
Collection of heirloom artifacts.
because I want to buy a sapphire.
Selection of heirloom artifacts.
And there we go. That didn't take long at all.
Come back soon.
Why did I want to buy a sapphire? Well, because I wanted one of every gem in my inventory. I guess with a diamond we do have one of every single gem. And now we're gonna go back to Murmur Woods. And we are going to go back to that tree that we've seen many times now. The reason is because while to me I know it as the tree that gives you horseshoes if you give it diamonds, but it actually does other things if you give it other gems, and in fact it has a different effect depending on which gem you give it. And I think it has one for every single... Oh, I did that in the wrong order. First flight, then invisibility. And I believe it has a different effect for every single gem. And we're gonna just take a quick look at what those effects are. This one is already kind of marked on the map because the arrow points to it. But I just want to check something. Does it get marked if you spacebar it? Yes, it does. So this is what we know the tree as capable of. We just gave it a diamond, it gives a horseshoe, but it also does, and obviously horseshoes can be used for skill points, that's why that's important, but it also does other things if you give it other gems, and we're just gonna run through the list one by one, starting with, if you give it a zircon, it'll give you a citrine, which is worth... A zircon was worth 250, this is 750, so you've made a profit of 500, assuming you have someone with a high enough merchant skill to sell it at its exact value. So that's one thing. Next, if you give it an iolite, it'll give you a pair of walking boots, which is a bit of a troll move from the game, because these are the worst kinds of boots in the game. They're not even enchanted, so not a good trade. the next thing that it does is if you... So we gave it a Zircon to get a citrine, but if we give it a citrine, it gives us an amethyst, once again worth 500 more than the thing we initially gave to it. So, you know, another profitable exchange. So you could, starting with a Zircon, go all the way to amethyst. And if that's why you were doing it, to get money, you know, that's what you would do. But this is what the tree does. Citrine gives you an amethyst. Next, if we give it amber, we get a swift potion. Like, these other potions are just the boost potions we got from the other tree. This swift potion is what we got when we fed an amber to that tree. Next, if we give it an amethyst, we get an emerald. Emerald, once again, is worth more than the amethyst we gave to it. So starting with a citrine, you could get a... Starting with a Zircon, you could get a citrine. With citrine, you get an amethyst. With an amethyst, you get an emerald. And each time you're gaining, so you could, through this chain, turn a Zircon, which is worth 250, into an emerald, which is worth 1750, giving you a profit of 1500 gold, which I guess is kind of decent. Next, if you give it a topaz, it'll spawn a for this one, I'm actually gonna save. Oh, I'm gonna save. It'll give you a random item.
I have no idea.
And as the guide says, these items will vary wildly in terms of type and quality. Well, this one's just a regular scroll. But let's... Yeah, another scroll. Let's do it until we get an item that could potentially be enchanted. Oh, that's just straight up a gem. Yeah, so this one.
Leave it.
This one is enchanted, so the items can have enchantments as well. If they're items capable of having enchantments, gems, of course, cannot be enchanted. This is what we got from there. Just a few more things left to do with this tree. So if we give it an emerald, it gives us an apple. And what do apples do? Well, green apples are delicious. I love Granny Smith apples myself. I've been, like, I oscillate between Granny Smith and Pink Lady apples. Both of them I love because they're tart. I love the tart kind of apples. So they're delicious, but beyond that, all they do in this game is they'll increase your food by 1, and that is not a good trade, because the emerald that you gave it definitely costs a lot more than what it would take to get that much food. But nonetheless, this is what it does if you give it an emerald, so I just wanted to showcase that. Next, if you give it a sapphire, this is the thing that we bought from the magic shop in Shadowspire. If you give it a sapphire, note that the sapphire is worth 2,000 gold. It will give you 2,000 gold. It'll just straight up exchange it. And you might think, well, that's redundant, that's pointless, and that is true, but consider the fact that you might be here with a party that doesn't have a high enough merchant skill to get full value for selling gems. And if you're in that very specific situation, and if you also have sapphires on hand, so I guess that's a very, very specific situation indeed. But if you find yourself in that situation, then you can trade those gems to this tree and get full value for them in terms of gold deposited into your gold stockpile. So next, if we give it a ruby, we get a rejuvenation potion. Oh, this is actually really cool because we get back the rejuve potion that we wasted on the tree in Ravenshore. Kind of come full circle on that. And finally, if you give it a diamond, you get horseshoes. We've used that trick dozens of times in this playthrough. Alright, now we're not quite done. There's one last thing we need to do. For that, I need to find a safe spot. There we go. I actually need to go all the way back. Oops, excuse me. All the way back to Ravenshore. And we need to go to this place. This place that we conspicuously have not visited. We've gone everywhere else, to every other location, every other dungeon, every other place that can be entered. We've gone into, but we haven't gone into this one spot. This is the tomb of Lord Brin. Let's go inside.
This is exciting.
And let's cast Wizard Eye, and already we have some green dots marked on the map. And well, before we do that, let's actually go up this spiral staircase very carefully, because platforming in this game is very finicky. And let's take a look at who we have up here. We have Dave O, Steve, Jackvar, Hodgepodge, 10, Ernie Ford, Elara, Ribana, Chlala. I'm not gonna know how to pronounce all of these. Cool. Like, I don't even know if they're real names. As we can see, some of these are just usernames. They're just handles. Kyber Kisu. Just _A _Brain. Lord Kilburn. King Louise. Gutwolf. Game Girl. And we've come all the way back around to Davo. These, of course, a bit of an Easter egg. These are references to... they're either employees, like they were involved in making the game, or they were just part of the broader gaming community at the time. These are references to real people, either via their name directly or via their handle. So that's kind of cool. There is one other reason we've come here. It's because this is the actual tomb of Lord Brin, and if we click on it, we get a flute. Now, one of the kind of running jokes slash, like I guess a bit of a running gag in Might and Magic games is you often have musical items. We're told this is a quest item that seem to not do anything. In Might and Magic VI, it was the flute, and there's a different quest where you're asked to get a different musical instrument, and you'd get a bit of funny dialogue if you went with the flute instead. The guy would be like, you don't know what a harp looks like. You just thought any random musical instrument would do. So that's kind of a bit of a joke there. And then it became a bit of a running gag after that. Like each Might and Magic game after that has had something like this. In this case, it's a flute. But sadly, this one, unlike previous games, in previous games, if you tried to use them, it would actually you would actually play a bit of a a bit of a musical sound. In this case, it doesn't do that, which is kind of sad. However, we are going to hold on to this flute because it will be used in another secret that we're gonna see later on in the series. This other secret is gonna be incorporated into when we're doing the endgame. But when we do excuse me, when we are at that part, we're gonna need the flute for that. So that's why I'm picking it up now. But anyway, I think that's all the secrets that I know of for the moment. So I am going to call this video to a close. Once again, if you know of another one, do mention it and I'll try and find it off screen. But yes, that is going to be all for this episode. So it's time for me to say, well, before I do my outro, let's set up what next episode is going to be. Next episode, I think we're just going to charge headlong into the endgame and maybe not finish it all in one episode, but definitely get going on that. So yes, next episode we're gonna be at least starting the final leg of this game's main quest. So yes, that is gonna be the plan. And with that, I think that is all for this episode. So now it is time for me to say thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode, running around, taking a look at some of the secrets that this game has. And if you did enjoy it, do consider leaving a like. And if you've been enjoying this series and would like to follow along with this game and with other future games that we do consider subscribing as well. But in either case, I'm just happy to have you along, and I hope you'll stick along for the next one as well. And until then, take care.